here. I'm JJ. It is an honor to introduce Rian Johnson, the writer, director, producer. And Daniel Craig, starring. Thank you all for being here. What an incredible accomplishment that movie is. Oh my God. That's incredible. I mean, it's beyond being, I think, the best Knives Out. I think it is such an incredible, moving, complicated story. I mean, what you just juggled, and the work that you all did in that just blew my mind. I'd love to hear how it came to be. I know you and I had conversations about this early on. You were writing it, you were wrestling with it. How the hell did you do it?
Well, and JJ, thank you for being here, and guys, thank you again for being here and doing this. Let's talk about the franchise trilogy everyone wants to hear our thoughts about. Let's talk about Knives Out. Let's do it. Come on. No, man, that means a lot. What was the question? I totally forgot. I'm sorry.
For example, Stephen King, famously does not outline, which is obviously infuriating.
Unfair.
How did you begin this process? Did you go with a feeling? Did you? What was the sort of the process for you on this?
Well, it started with after we premiered Glass Onion in London. Daniel and I kind of sat down together, and we talked about what would feel right for the next one. We both kind of agreed Glass Onion we were really proud of it. It was exactly what we wanted to make, but it would feel really good to kind of ground the next one. And so for me, that meant making it personal. And so I had this idea of making it about faith and about religion. It's something that I grew up very Christian. Through growing up and through my mid-20s, and I'm not at all anymore. I'm not a believer anymore. But when I was younger, it was something. It wasn't just that I was brought to church with my parents. It was a relationship with Christ. Was my personal relationship with Christ was how I framed the world around me. It was a very, very ingrained thing in my identity, and so today it's something I have very, very deep, very personal, very complicated feelings about. And the notion of trying to kind of put that in one of these movies, which essentially is still a big entertaining, inviting any audiences in to have a good time still in the big tent movie seemed like a challenge that was scary enough to try for the third one, I guess, and Daniel being the crazy motherfucker he is, was like, it sounds great, let's try it.
Well, I have a question for the crazy motherfucker, which is, this character has become this sort of beloved character. How do you, going into this movie, add to and expand upon what's there, given that the tone of this film is so different from the other two?
I don't know if I go in sort of thinking to add, or genuinely, it's like we have a few discussions. Ryan talks about it. We talked at length about this and about where kind of how the movie, the direction that we wanted the movie to go in, and then I just say, "See you when you've written it," and he presents it, and we shot that script, So we tweaked a bit and we did things together. It's that thing. I mean, how lucky I am to be in a franchise. But there's the sort of pitfalls of a franchise, which are, how do you replicate? Do you want to stay away from a pastiche of the character? I mean, it's a big character, and how do I kind of make it? And sort of Ryan just presented me with a script that I was able to sort of just go, yeah, I get the reality of this. This is great, and there's a journey for him in this movie that I don't think exists in the first two movies, and I think that kind of was probably the key into it.
When you said that you're not a believer, this very much feels like it was created by someone who is very much a believer, and this is going to be news. I'm Jewish, but
What?
yeah, I know. Just don't post that. No, you can post it. Proudly Jewish, but I'm married to an Irish Catholic, and I just said this to you. I cannot wait for her to see this movie. This is going to be her movie. What it talks about is so deeply moving, and I'm just curious, when you started working on it, is what it became the thing that you were doing at the beginning? Did you know that this is what it was going to be, and how close is the final product to what your initial instinct was?
Yeah, I mean, I think the vague kind of target on the wall was where it ended up, but this was the hardest thing I've ever. I mean, we talked when I was in the thick of it, and you saw I was really in a dark place when I was writing it. This was a very, very, very hard script to write, and it's not because the mystery was more intricate, although it was because it was. That target I was aiming for was to, take this thing that I have, deep but conflicted feelings about, and to actually talk about it as opposed to talking at it, and to genuinely try and represent all the different sides of myself about this issue in the characters. And I mean, the scene with Daniel and Josh when they first kind of meet in the church. I mean, I think that's. I watched that, and that for me is kind of, I emotionally just feel like, okay, that's, I guess, an honest kind of coming together of two very different sides, but with a generous spirit towards both of them, I guess, is sort of what we were aiming for. They're coming for me now. This is, And I feel, through a lot of work of a lot of talented people, not just myself, I do, and I feel like, I feel all right, at the end of it all,
The cast of the Knives Out movies is always, they're always incredible. You always have this incredible ensemble, and I'm just curious, Daniel, for you, working on this film, what that experience was, how much rehearsal time goes into this? How much do you get to, because you kind of come and go in all these different, ways, and I can't imagine as one shoots a film non-chronologically how you're tracking all of what has to happen, but I'm just curious what your experience was with the ensemble.
There isn't a lot of time, because ultimately all of these actors we have in the movie are big movie stars, and they're all really busy, and they play, the number one on the call sheet, most of them. And so to get them all together is a sort of, Ron Bergman is here, it's his, he...
Producer,
who, it's his job, thankfully his job to kind of herd cats, which is kind of what it is with movie stars. But you kind of want, we talk a little bit about it. I mean, no one goes to their trailers. We sort of have a green room right next to the set, and no one's under orders, but everybody stayed within the green room. Everyone stays near the set, and you need them to hit the ground running. So I don't know, but Ryan and I we just sort of try and set the tone from the offset. And we've just been so fortunate and blessed by the fact that everybody's come in and just said, "Yep, we're involved. We're going to do this." So it's such a pleasure.
Were there any surprises? Go ahead.
I was just going to point out, I think Annie Hamilton, who played Grace, who tears the church apart, is here somewhere. Where is she at? Yeah, she's in the audience. Big name. Anne Ham. And also Dan Sheridan, who plays the cop in the video station, who's a dear friend of mine who also was invaluable when I was writing the script.
Were there any surprises as you were shooting with the cast where characters were sort of going in places you didn't expect? Or did it all sort of happen as you thought it would?
You mean in terms of the writing, or in terms
in terms of like when you were working with the actors, you obviously... I should ask you, were you writing two actors, or did you write it and then cast it? And once you had the cast, did things evolve in ways you didn't expect?
No, I write it and then cast it. I've kind of learned now, if you find this, that if you write with actors in mind, it's kind of a path to heartbreak a little bit, just because of schedules and everything else. You end up, but no, so I kind of just write the characters and then try and cast it. And as kind of as much as these movies feel like kind of jigsaw puzzles, there's still quite a lot of room for play. I try and keep kind of a real spirit of look, ultimately these movies are kind of like that game Mousetrap that you build with all the things, but that's kind of the lesser element of it. And I think that's kind of the key to making them, is kind of remembering that what makes them actually tick is the same thing that makes any movie tick, which is the characters, and you caring about the characters, you knowing what the characters want, especially the main character, why they can't get it, and you giving a damn about that. And the same basic essentials are what actually makes it tick. And so when you're working with these great actors who are coming in, I mean, I would be an idiot not to harness, their instincts and to use all the tools that, I mean, Glenn Close shows up on your set. You're gonna give her what she needs to make that role feel as alive and real as it possibly can, because ultimately that's what carries the weight. It's not all the clever mystery bullshit. It's whether you connect emotionally with that character.
Good. It's good, clever mystery bullshit.
Well,
Similar question for you, Daniel. Like, when you're in this role, like you say, you get the script, you know what you're going to do. But did you find yourself, especially given the questions of faith in the script, in the story, were there any surprises for you playing this role that you didn't feel in the other two films?
It's a very different relationship with Father Judd, with Josh's character. I mean, and I think that is key to this film, and is the difference. And I had very close relationship with Janelle and Anna in the first two, but this one is keying into something quite personal, like kind of like there is a sort of backstory that we talked about Benoit Blanc probably growing up in a very religious background, which I sort of kind of based on him. I mean, that was just where my head was at, and that sort of. But that first scene is we worked on quite a lot, and there's very little rewriting on Ryan's movie, but we did rewrite that scene to make it a bit harder, because I was convinced that the stronger the argument from both sides, the better the relationship would be, and I think that's was key to it. Sort of like I don't know, if you've ever made friends by arguing with somebody, but I think it sometimes can be a good way in.
I disagree. No. Yeah, we have fun.
Just because I know what the process is on something like this, there's always an evolution in the writing process and the shooting of it, in the editing. How long was the first cut of this thing?
Too long. Yeah, it was. I forget if we broke. Ron, did we break 3 hours with the first cut? No, he says. Okay. No. I believe you. But the
reason I ask, I'm just curious. Like,
yeah.
Did you lose any threads, any ideas, anything that didn't make it? That
we lost a lot of good stuff, and like you always do, and that's always, But it's also it's in the service of making the movie tick better, and I think that again, it's very similar to the process of any movie. I mean, it's. You have to, when you get in the edit, you have to go through the same process that you have to go through at all the phases, which is your job is to really become the audience and have an honest emotional reaction to it and make the hard choices based on that.
That Busby Berkeley dance routine was a shame that we lost it.
It's a bummer, but still. You stinker.
You work with so many of the same people again and again, and I thought that the production design was gorgeous. The set of the church was was miraculous. Could you just talk about some of the people that you've gotten to work with again and again, and what it was like shooting, on such a great set?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Rick Heinrich, who is our production designer, who we also did The Last Jedi and also Glass Onion with, is amazing. Rick came up working with Tim Burton, and he is a master at communicating very intimate feeling through grand scope. And with this, the interior of the church was a set. We shot this movie in London, actually, and so the exterior of the church, we found a location. The interior of the church was all a set on the stage at Leavesden Studios, and it was a gorgeous set. And the combination of that and my cinematographer, Steve Yedlin, who I've been making movies with since we were 17. He shot all my films. We talked about the notion of, I grew up in Colorado. I was a kid in Colorado where, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It's like the clouds, the sun going behind clouds. And the notion of really bringing those kind of emotionally charged light changes in a very theatrical way from the outside world into these interior spaces was the first thing I talked to Steve about, and that was really fun. He did a lot of work in prep to make it effortless on set, where we could time the sun going away to a certain moment in the scene, and do it in kind of an instinctual way on set, and then repeat it and make it technically work. So a lot of technical wizardry going into creating an emotional effect, hopefully.
So great. I'm sure that, Daniel, you've probably answered this question a million times, but not tonight. The voice of this character, the sort of the spirit of it, I'm sure there are a number of people that you could point to that were sort of inspirations for it. But when you're doing it, I'm just curious where you go to in your experience for this guy to come out.
God knows. I mean, I'm presented a part. What was the stage direction? Tell me in the first one.
In the first script, because I didn't want to freak out our financiers, I wrote, Blanc speaks with the slightest hint of a southern lilt. And
like all stage directions that I ignore. One should. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's lots of influences in there. There's a bit of Shelby Foote, a little bit of Tennessee Williams, there's a bit of all sorts of sort of, and sort of vaguely Louisiana. Yeah, I mean, I have to work really hard. I mean, in the first movie, in between takes, I continued to talk in the accent, and I kind of stayed in character, and that was very helpful in the first one. And as the movies have gone on, it's everybody else that speaks it. It's like the rest of the cast are all talking in the accent, so it's like it's taken care of, really.
I'm just curious, how challenged you were by, I mean, I know it seemed like it came fairly naturally, but the idea that, you started this series, it was kind of a straight whodunit, very funny and spirited, but a whodunit. Then it was sort of a little more satire whodunit, and this is obviously a far more, I think, emotional, but also, very much a spiritual story. I'm just curious, like, what your thoughts were or concerns were, kind of expanding the tone of this thing. Because I know when we spoke about it when you were writing it, you were like, I don't know if this is going to work, but I just thought it was so bold. And by the way, what was so crazy was how much of the movie happens before Benoit shows up. Yeah. And you're just watching this movie and you don't forget he's coming, but you're kind of like, I'm just sucked into, and it was really such an amazing feat. I'm just curious, like, what your thoughts were going into it, how worried you were that you were telling a story, would it fit into the box or not, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, very worried, I guess, is the answer, but that's also kind of why we attacked it. I feel very, very lucky to be in the boat with this man here who is has the same instincts as me, which are if it's not scary, it's probably not worth doing. And I think that we both kind of in making these movies, we have so much fun making them, but we also are aware that the instant we feel like we're just kind of turning the crank and making another one, it will instantly stop being fun. What's fun about it for us is that we're challenging ourselves, and hopefully that translates into the experience for the audience of having a new experience with each one of these. In the same way that when I was a kid and I picked up a new Agatha Christie book, I knew I was going to have a new experience every time. That's kind of the goal, and so that's sort of the base challenge that we're on. Also, can I tell a quick little story, because I have these two men on the stage with me? I don't know if I think I've told you this. I don't know if I told you this. This is Star Wars adjacent, I apologize. When I was writing episode 8, we were watching dailies because we were shooting 7. And one day it was a scene with Daisy where she kind of, does the force mind control on a stormtrooper and gets him to unlock her things. And the daily came up, it was a stormtrooper, she said it, the stormtrooper didn't say anything, just walked across the room to her. And I did this, I went, "Who's that actor?" and the guys, and Pablo, Lucasfilm was like, "I think it's just a stunt dude in a stormtrooper thing." I go, "No, that's a real actor, just from the way they walked across the stage thing." And he goes, "No, dude, I think I'll check." And then the next day he came back to me and he's like, "Yeah, that was Daniel Craig." These two.
By the way, it's much easier to put a Star Wars reference in a Knives Out movie than to put a Knives Out reference in a Star Wars. Could you just both speak? One of the great joys of watching this movie tonight was watching it with you, and getting to hear the laughs and the gasps, and just to that there's nothing better than the communal cinematic experience. And I just would love to hear both of you talk about how important that is to you and how important it is for people to see the film in this kind of a setting.
God, I mean, where do you begin? It's the reason I do this job. It's not for the applause. It's because I've had those experiences myself in the cinema, and that the first time that it ever happened to me, that was the reason I wanted to become an actor. That was the reason I wanted to do this. I mean, we could go on about phones and where the world is now, but sort of without this, we cease to be human. It's like we need this in our lives. Kind of coming into a room with a bunch of strangers and having an experience.
I also feel like sometimes it can feel a little bit kind of like preaching to the better angels of our nature in terms of saying stuff like that. The reality is, and we see it here with all of us kind of getting out of our houses and coming here to be here, but also I feel it in, you go to revival cinema in LA these days, you go to a 2:00 show of, The Samurai, like a Melville movie, and it's packed with young people. I feel like there is today a genuine hunger for that communal. And it's not about seeing it big, it's not about the format, it's not about the surround sound, it's about sitting shoulder to shoulder with other people and having that magical communal feeling. I feel like it's not just kind of like preaching the benefits of that. You genuinely feel the desire. I feel it right now. I feel like I've been getting out to the movies more than I ever have, and it's because the more I'm sitting there in my phone, the more I crave this, So it's, and that's ultimately the real aim of these movies is to, it comes from my memories of watching those old whodunits with my family, and just everyone from the grandkids to the grandparents sitting down and having a great time watching it. So that's what this is all about,
Well, I think I speak on behalf of everyone here when I say we had an amazing communal experience tonight. Thank you both for an extraordinary job.
Thank you.
Thank you, JJ, for doing this, man. Thank you. Thank you guys for